Well, a firestorm erupting on Capitol Hill. Mexico's President Felipe Calderón criticizing America on American soil, denouncing Arizona's new immigration law, and getting a standing ovation from Democrats and from top officials in the Obama administration. Here you'll see Attorney General Eric Holder and Homeland Security Secretary Janet Napolitano clapping as the Mexican president attacks the Arizona law.
I strongly disagree with the recently adopted law in Arizona. It is a law that not only ignores a reality that cannot be erased by decree, but also introduces a terrible idea using racial profiling as a basis for law enforcement.
Joining me now, former U.S. Congressman J.D. Hayworth. He's also currently challenging John McCain for the GOP nomination for Senate in Arizona. And immigration attorney Francisco Hernandez. Gentlemen, thank you so much for being here. J.D., let me start with you, Congressman. Tell me, do you think that that was appropriate to have the Mexican president criticizing the law, not so much the criticism as the reaction we saw?
Well, I think both President Calderón stepping up to criticize the United States of America in front of a joint session of Congress was not only hypocritical, but just incredibly arrogant. And then to see the reaction of Janet Napolitano, a former governor of Arizona, in essence heaping scorn on her home state, and of course the majority of members of the majority party currently on Capitol Hill, shows the lengths to which the Democrats will go to ignore the fact that border security is national security and to try and embrace a whole new group of citizens in time for the elections, not so much in 2010, but coinciding with the presidential election in 2012. Basically, the Democrat Party is telling us, at least from Capitol Hill, that laws don't matter, and they would rather listen to the president of a foreign country criticize a state in this union and criticize fellow Americans, and it is shocking and it is absolutely repulsive.
Francisco, what do you make of it? You know, because we've got polls showing that the vast majority of Americans support the Arizona law, and yet you wouldn't have known that looking at the floor of the U.S. Congress yesterday.
Well, what is disheartening is that the Democrats in Congress, President Calderón and Congressman Hayworth, are doing it all for the same reason, for political grandstanding. I haven't seen anybody put up a proposal on the table of what we want to do to solve this issue. Really, the Arizona is the tail wagging the dog. President Calderón, why are we feeding into it? We're giving him credibility by playing it over and over and over again. What do we care? He has no jurisdiction over us. Why are we stuck in the mud arguing over it? Let's put a proposal on the table. How are we going to resolve this issue?
Well, but Arizona has a proposal.
I put up a proposal 5 years ago, the Enforcement First Act, and that's what Arizonans want to see, and that's what a majority of Americans want to see. They want to see our laws enforced, and now we're getting word today that the head of ICE, John Morton, doesn't want to even enforce the law when it comes to Arizona. So this is very prevalent. It's not the President Calderón coming here. It's the fact that Americans want to see the
federal government
laws
going in and enforcing Arizona law.
No, Francisco, because Arizona can't deport anybody. It can find the illegals, but it can't deport them. So it sends them to ICE, and now you've got the head of ICE saying,
but
we may not cooperate.
They've been turning them over to ICE for years. You didn't need the new law in Arizona to do it. I mean, they've been doing, there's that nutty sheriff out there that's been picking up, what do they call it, DWMs, driving while Mexicans out in Arizona and picking them up, pretending that we're speeding. I mean,
Cisco,
but really, guys, what we're talking about is we're letting the tail wag the dog. Let's put a proposal.
Hold on.
Congressman Hayworth, you just running against John
That's not
McCain.
helpful
This
to
is a
viewers.
campaign commercial.
They can't hear.
Come on, guys, let's talk about it.
Hold on, Francisco. I'll give you both your turn, but it's not helpful to the viewers to talk over. So, Francisco, let you go, and then, J.D., back to you.
Okay, I'm sorry, I thought it was his turn, but let's put a proposal together. Let's talk about how we can instigate an orderly immigration procedure and law and enforcement. It's going to have to be employer enforced. We're never going to be able to put up a wall big enough to block people from coming here if there are jobs that they're going to take. And the jobs that are here are jobs that the American citizens don't want to take. So let's address the issue. Instead of letting the tail wag the dog, we're giving Arizona and President Calderon a whole lot more authority than they have. Any federal law that we pass, we don't have to touch the constitutionality of it. Any federal law that's passed is going to preempt Arizona anyway. So let's get down to the heart of the matter.
Congressman, go ahead.
Well, the bottom line is you're hearing from Francisco, who, of course, is a lawyer. You're hearing a political answer from him. His answer, of course, is amnesty. His answer, of course, is to ignore existing law, not to enforce the law, and to try to relegate this to some sort of misunderstanding or some the notion that enforcing the law is nutty betrays to me a type of thinking that is incredibly harmful. Either we are a nation of laws or we are a nation of lawlessness. The laws should be enforced. The notion of amnesty or open borders, or even the suggestion now that in troubled economic times these people are, quote, doing the jobs Americans just won't do, is not predicated on current economic conditions nor on fact. And quite frankly, sir, it betrays an incredible contempt for the people of my state and for the millions of Americans who simply want to see laws enforced.
Francisco?
Well, look, what do you mean? Nobody has to even have amnesty. You don't even have to get that. You can put that aside, and the people, if they're still here, it's because they're working, so the jobs are there even in this bad economic time. I mean, let's stop the political commercial. Let's stop the political grandstanding. Let's get to work. Somebody put up a proposal, a good one, a bad one, or an ugly one. But President Bush tried it with a Republican Congress, and he couldn't do it. President Bush tried it with a Democrat Congress, and he couldn't do it. There's enemies to proper immigration reform on both sides.
But let me ask you this before I let you go, Francisco, because, you know, we started the segment with that picture of the Democrats and members of the administration standing. And I think, you know, one of the reasons that, in particular, Eric Holder, the Attorney General, and Janet Napolitano, our Homeland Security Chief, are getting guff for this is because of the following. Let's play the soundbite.
Have you read the Arizona law?
I have not had a chance to. I've glanced at it. I have not read it.
I have not reviewed it in detail. I certainly know of it, Senator.
So you're not prepared to make a judgment on it?
Let me just say this. As you know and are well aware, that's not the kind of law I would have signed.
So, Francisco, what is she and what is he doing on their feet applauding the criticism of the law when, at least as of this time last week, they hadn't even read it?
Guilty as charged. I mean, it really just is a recodification of what federal law is already. I agree with you. What in the world were they thinking?
Well, we'll leave it at that, and you heard it there. In any event, gentlemen, we appreciate you coming on for a Vera Mellon's debate. It's an important issue, and all the best to both of you.
Thank you.
And, folks, we're still being told that ICE has...
With the recently adopted law in Arizona. It is a law that not only ignores a reality that cannot be erased by decree, but also introduces a terrible idea using racial profiling as a basis for law enforcement.
Now, you may have noticed that lots of Democrats found that worthy of a standing ovation, including Secretary of Homeland Security Sherlock Janet Napolitano and Attorney General Eric Holder, both of whom have admitted they have not read the Arizona law. And joining me now with reaction to the series of outrages are from the Weekly Standard, Fox News contributor Stephen Hayes and immigration attorney Francisco Hernandez. Gentlemen, welcome back to Hannity.
Hey, Mr. Hannity, thank you for having me.
All right, well, let's start with this. Stephen, I want to start with you here. Think about this in the context that Benjamin Netanyahu, all right, our ally, the only democracy in the region, he comes to the United States, and look at how poorly he's treated. No state dinner, no fanfare, no photography, nothing. And he's left to his own devices in the White House for a long period of time. Explain this to me. Now we've gotten to the point here in America where leaders of other nations come here, stand next to our president, They dump on America and Americans, and our president joins in. Explain what's happening here.
I think this is truly disgraceful. You know, the problem with what happened today, I think, is that President Obama ran on a platform basically of a new national humility. He chided George W. Bush for going to other countries or for imposing America's views on the rest of the world. So we were no longer going to do that. We were going to spend our time listening. And yet when Felipe Calderon comes and lectures the United States, in the United States, on the floor of Congress, chastises us for laws that were passed in the state of Arizona that a governor signed, people who were duly elected, Obama not only says nothing to criticize Calderon, but senior members of his administration stand and applaud this kind of criticism. It's a rather shocking turn.
All right, Francisco, let me, before we're going to get lectured by the president of Mexico, why don't we take a look at Mexico's immigration law? Okay, let's put it up on the screen, and you tell me which is more draconian. Immigrants, for example, if you want to go to Mexico, cannot be an economic burden. They must be healthy. They must have no criminal record. They must show a birth certificate. Oh, where are your papers? Immigrants must provide their own health care. The government can ban foreigners due to race. Illegal entry is a felony. You get jail time, 2 years in prison if you go into the country illegally. If you re-enter the country illegally, 10 years in prison. Document fraud is considered a serious crime, punishable by jail time. The government can deport foreigners without any due process. Law enforcement officials at all levels are required, just like in Arizona, to follow through on the law. Here's my question. Before the president of Mexico comes here and lectures us on the south lawn of the White House, do you think he ought to maybe talk about changing his own law first?
Yeah, I agree, but we're giving him credibility, and he has less authority than the state of Arizona. We're playing right into the cards. If you really want to talk about what we want to do, is we're letting the tail wag the dog. We're letting this debate about Arizona talk about what we're going to do at the federal level. The fact of the matter is President Obama and Congress, both parties, could basically either preempt or uphold that law by enacting a single federal law. We're letting the tail wag the dog.
No, that's not what's happening. Stephen, I want to go back to you. That's not. Ronald Reagan never would have allowed this to happen if he were president of the United States. Ronald Reagan would have stood up for the people of Arizona. He would have stood up for the rule of law. He would have stood up for respect and the sovereignty of the United States of America. And this president, again and again and again, has shown an unwillingness to do so. And the question I have for you is why?
Well, I think, as I said, you know, he campaigned on this. I mean, this was something that he was going to do. I think he's uncomfortable in fighting back when somebody criticizes the United States. We've seen this repeatedly. But I think, you know, what's happened in Arizona really is quite different. Arizona is doing this as sort of a last resort. They are so frustrated. You heard President Calderon talk about criminalizing migration. That was his phrase. Arizona's not criminalizing migration. This is nothing new. It is already illegal to come here. By definition, that's what's happening here. So this is not anything new. He's misrepresenting it. He mischaracterized it on the floor of Congress by saying that it codifies racial profiling. And the administration, senior administration officials, including the vice president, stood up and applauded. Look, I'm actually fairly squishy on immigration. I'm for a dramatic increase in legal immigration.
That's not the issue.
But I find what's been happening here over the past couple days, over the past couple weeks, really appalling.
You know, it's Mexico that racially profiles. It's Mexico that has the draconian law, not Arizona, Francisco.
But we're not talking. Here to talk about Mexico. We're talking about what are we going to do here.
We just got lectured by the president of Mexico, and the United States Congress and the president agreed with him and applauded him.
But we're feeding right into it, guys. Let's have a discussion about where we agree. I got a great email from Mr. Gordon who proceeded to rip me, and let me tell you, he ripped me. But after I read about 5 pages of his email, I had discovered that what his proposal was about fixing the immigration issue was, quite frankly, quite acceptable.
Excuse me. You know what?
wasn't the sacred cow of amnesty.
I'm not interested in lectures from
well, let me finish.
I'm not interested in lectures from the president of a country that brutally treats illegal immigrants in his country.
I'll give you that.
That
one.
has
I'll
draconian.
It to you.
Well, fine. Then you finally have come over to the right side.
I'll give it to you, but let me finish.
So no. Here's the question: why did the Congress of the United States of America? Why did Janet Napolitano and Eric Holder, who didn't read the law? Why did they applaud him? Why did the president allow him to do this in this country at our White House in front of our Congress?
And you and I know exactly why. Political pontificating and grandstanding, just like the conservatives do and the liberals do. They think if they give amnesty, they're going to become Democrats. Well, it didn't happen in '87. And on the right side, if we build more walls, it's not going to fix the problem. Let's talk about how we fix it. Again, I told you, that gentleman,
maybe we ought to just adopt Mexico's laws, because they deport people. They say
one thing that was notably missing from President Calderon.
It's not going to get us anywhere. What are we going to do with the 12 million people that we have here? We want to pick.
That's not the issue.
It is what we were. It is why we're here. That's exactly why we're here.
One thing that was missing from what we heard from President Calderon over the past couple days is what he's going to do to stem the flow of illegal immigrants.
No,
he said very little about that. The White House put out a vague declaration that the declaration contained no specifics. There was nothing actually in there about what the president of Mexico is going to do to keep his citizens from coming here illegally.
All right, we got to go. They find people. They racially profile. They demand people's papers. They put people in jail. And Arizona says enforce the federal law, and then we get a lecture from the president, from the Democrats in Congress, and from the Mexican president, who has a far more draconian law. What this president did today is a disgrace and an embarrassment to this country.
You know, whether I agree with you or not, it doesn't matter. Let's move forward and talk about. I would like to hear a proposal from you, Mr. Hannity, on how you would solve the issue.
I got a proposal. I'll follow Felipe Calderon. Has all the answers. We'll implement his law.
Do what now?
We'll implement Mexico's law.
And what do you do about immigration?
That's my answer. I'll do exactly what Mexico does. We'll deport them.
Well, so you would provide a system where people can apply to come here legally.
But we'll racially profile. We will deport them. We'll demand where their papers are. We'll do all the things that Mexico does. And I don't support that. But what I support...
But you would agree with a system where people can apply to come here legally,
yes,
I take it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Let's start there. Let's work there. Let's start right there, and let's start a process where people can apply to come here legally.
If we have a background check, and Mexico ought to support us in our effort to prevent people from entering this country illegally and not respecting the sovereignty. So, all right, we agree.
I agree, but at least we have a point we agreed on. Let's move forward from there, Mr. Hannity.
I think that's not where they're starting. They're starting by demagoguing and mischaracterizing the law. That's not where President Calderon is starting.
No authority
He's mischaracterizing
over us. Let's move on.
All right, guys, we got to go.
Let's move on.
We're going to move on, but I'll tell you, the president owes us an apology. And Arizona Governor Jan Brewer, by the way, will be going on the record with Greta tonight to respond to President Calderon. That interview coming up right here on the Fox News Channel, 10 Eastern, in 15 minutes from right now. Now, there's plenty more to come tonight on Hannity. Ann Coulter's next.
Ann Coulter is here with a message for Republicans that could save them from defeat this November.
Thank you.
Republican surge in Connecticut. We'll check in with the GOP Senate contender Linda McMahon.
Majority of people actually support our center.
Chilling details about the man behind the Ground Zero Mosque. All of that plus a student is suspended for wearing a rosary to school. Hannity continues straight ahead.
Investing takes perspective. While some focus on the short term, we see long-term opportunities in all market cycles. It's made us a leader in investment management. Franklin Templeton Investments. Gain from our perspective.
We're in the mood for baby back ribs for dinner tonight. Who's got them? And it has to be all you can eat.
Thanks for dropping by.
Golden Corral is the first ever to offer all the fall-off-the-bone baby back ribs you want, all on our endless dinner buffet for around $10. Only at Golden Corral.
He masterminded a plot to kill innocent Americans. Why? What turned him against his own country? And is he just one of many homegrown terrorists just waiting for their moment? It's our exclusive investigation revealing shocking facts about Anwar al-Awlaki. Bill Hemmer hosts Fox News reporting The American Terrorist.
Sure, solar and wind energy are part of the future, but it's not always breezy. And the sun sets. We need a clean, consistent energy source to back them up. The answer is natural gas. It's twice as clean as coal, and it's super abundant. Eureka, baby.
America's new natural gas. Cleaner, smarter energy.
Border war with protests, political fights, and boycotts. Arizona's governor sticks to her guns on her immigration law and now fires back. Jan Brewer goes on the record tonight.
The Anointed One has managed to avoid a primetime press conference since last July, and it looks like reporters, well, they're starting to get fed up with his refusal to answer questions. CBS News' Chip Reed voiced his frustrations in the Rose Garden just yesterday.
Mr. President, any comment on yesterday's election, please? Any plans for a real press conference?
All right, ironic, considering the Anointed One just signed the Press Freedom Act this week. More Hannity straight ahead.
This is the spot where a family was shattered. Shelley and Darren's 9-year-old daughter, Erica, was right here on her bicycle, just 15 pedals from home. The driver was distracted by her cell phone and didn't see her. How many more have to die before we take a stand? Let their lives be our light. Join me and Chevy, who care about your safety. Go to Oprah.com and take the pledge.
Hey, who's our best presentation guy?
Carl.
I thought you said Carl was our best presentation guy.
Well, he is. Last week, he told my team about FedEx Office print online for our presentations. We upload it to FedEx Office, then they print, bind, and ship it. The presentation looks good, right?
Well, yes, but...
You didn't actually bring Carl with you.
Good morning. But I digress.
We understand you need presentations done right. And right now, save 20% on all online printing purchases. Visit FedEx.com/print.
From full-service moves to portable containers, every step of the way.
We call it the American Renewal because GE Capital understands what businesses need to grow. That's why today, GE Capital provides critical financing to more than 300,000 growing companies.
And tonight in Your America, Ann Coulter is calling out some prominent members of the Republican Party. She's pulling no punches and says their overly optimistic rhetoric about the 2010 midterms is, quote, ludicrous, and warns that it could cost the GOP big this November. And joining me now in studio with more on this is the one and only Coulter. Hello. You don't even need a first name. It's Coulter. All right, before we get to your column, which I thought was brilliant and interesting, and frankly, you and I are one of the few that are making this point.
Right.
All right, but I want to get to one other thing. I am angry. I am enraged. We just did a whole segment on this immigration issue. The President of the United States, here they have draconian laws in Mexico.
Right.
Far more strident, stringent than America.
Oh, yeah.
And we got the Mexican president, along with our president, who won't defend this country and the people of Arizona, trashing this country's laws.
Right. I just wish he had said it in Arizona. They would have arrested him. Deported that guy.
Did he spend all day dreaming? No, but this...
No, it is out. It's unbelievable.
It's unbelievable.
And the weird thing is, I didn't know chutzpah was a Mexican word.
Well, it really does take... I mean,
I know.
2 years. We just went through all the laws, so I'm not going to do it again. But 2 years,
Right.
You enter their country, you go to jail. You re-enter Mexico, you risk going to jail for 10 years.
No, and I think those are perfectly sensible laws. This idea that a country is like a department store and anybody can just walk in. One thing I was thinking of, I mean, looking at some of the immigrants that have been approved. Yeah. I'm leaping beyond illegal immigration and going straight to legal immigration now. For example, the car bomber. Take him for an example. Is there any immigrant that a Democrat would say, no, we don't want you? I mean, other than a German engineer or, an English scientist. No, you can't come here if you're a white European. But how about you're 80 years old and wheelchair-bound AIDS victim?
You know what we ought to do? We ought to adopt...
Maybe an ex-felon.
Let's adopt Mexico's immigration law. That's what I say. And then let's see how...
It's very strange. Is it a seller's market? We ought to be choosing the best people, the smartest people, the youngest people, the ones who will contribute the most to the society. And particularly, I mean, I think the country should always do that. But particularly now when the whole country is going bankrupt and we're headed for the Great Depression, it might be useful to have some people who can contribute to society. And, an example of that... California is Greece, except for Google and Silicon Valley.
It's a great way to put it.
That is what has kept that state even floating, and it's about to sink anyway.
12.6% unemployment in California. 12.6, and going higher.
And the same sort of pension system, the same sort of you retire at 50, and you know, overtime.
We should be so lucky, you know. With a great pension, lifetime benefits.
As long as you're a government employee, what has held that country as long as it has so far is Silicon Valley. Well, could we get some more Silicon Valley people immigrating here?
All right, now let me go to your column, because on Human Events on your website here, because I've been saying this is angering me.
Right.
There are Republicans that are overly optimistic, and they have raised expectations so high that even if they take back the Congress, it may not even be viewed as a victory.
Right.
Well, they didn't get 102 seats, so therefore they didn't really win anything this midterm.
Right, and you and I remember that because that is exactly what happened in 1998. Because that was 4 years after the historic 1994 election. Republicans had taken seats in dozens of districts where people hadn't voted for the Democrat their entire lives. Their grandparents hadn't voted for Democrats. Of course we were going to lose seats. We lost 5 seats, I think, 4 years later. And the claim was, because that was in the middle of the whole Monica Lewinsky scandal, oh, the American people are angry. That almost shut down impeachment, because what happened that year, when I reflected back on it, you know, each team, Democrats will cheer for the Democrats, Republicans will cheer for the Republicans, so you see consultants on either side saying our side is going to win, no, our side. Democrats didn't allow themselves to do that. All you heard was Republicans saying it's going to be a Republican sweep. When it wasn't, it looks like the country loved Clinton.
Listen, you had a good line in this article. You said Republicans should hold their victory parties after the victory.
Right.
But there's one other thing, because this was interesting to me. I think the biggest loser in Tuesday's election was the president himself. Because look, everybody, in this case, in the 12th in Pennsylvania, this guy sounded like me and you combined. I mean, you know, he's pro-gun, he's anti-abortion, he's against health care, he's against cap and tax.
That's my kind of Democratic Party.
But all right, but we know he's going to go to Washington, and I'll bet any dollars to donuts he's going to vote with Pelosi and Obama.
Well, if he does, I think he's up for election again, what, in 6 months?
He'll wait till November. Then we'll see the real Chris.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. In some ways, Obama's the biggest loser. In some ways, I kind of think I'm the biggest loser because... Look at Republicans. We have been trying to get rid of Arlen Specter. And here Obama does it. All he has to do is endorse the guy.
All right,
we finally got rid of Arlen Specter.
Put that in Barack Obama. So you're praising the president.
Yes,
he got rid of,
yes.
You see, I'm critical even still. I'll tell you why. Because I wanted Arlen Specter to win that race because he would have gotten clobbered. I think he was the easier candidate for Toomey to beat, but I think Toomey still got a good shot.
Oh, yeah, sure. I mean, this Sestak is very liberal on a lot of the social issues. And Pennsylvania is often described as, except for Philadelphia and Pittsburgh, it's Alabama. It's very conservative on things like life.
It's not. No, Pennsylvania is the biggest political tease state, if you will, that's out there.
Right.
You always think you're going to get that seat. You always think you're going to get that victory in Pennsylvania, and it never happens. Drives me nuts. Coulter, it's always great to see you.
Good to see you.
Thank you for being with us. And there is plenty more Hannity straight ahead.
I know how to create jobs.
And the woman looking to take down Richard Blumenthal in Connecticut is here to reveal her strategy for victory.
We have the right to build this building. We can just go ahead and build it without permission.
We expose the shocking writings of the man behind the Ground Zero Mosque in a Hannity special report.
We'll hear all of it soon.
All of that plus the outrageous story of the school that calls rosary beads a gang symbol. Hannity continues straight ahead.
We're pretty good about cutting down on our bills. What? Hi, honey. Lights out.
But to save even more money, we went to Lowe's.
I told them an Energy Star washer would save about $500 a lifetime, and a WaterSense toilet can save up to $90 a year.
Plus, Lowe's is the only retailer to win the EPA's highest award from Energy Star and WaterSense.
They're trying to embarrass me.
No!
Oh, come on.
Experience. Lowe's. Let's build something together. Come to Lowe's and get 10% off Maytag major appliances.
It can happen anytime, when you least expect it. A regular moment can become romantic. And when it does, men with erectile dysfunction can be more confident in their ability to be ready with Cialis. With 2 clinically proven dosing options, you can choose the moment that's right for you and your partner. 36-hour Cialis and Cialis for daily use. Cialis for daily use is a low-dose tablet you take every day so you can be ready anytime the moment's right.
Tell your doctor about your medical condition and all medications and ask if you're healthy enough for sexual activity.
Don't take Cialis if you take nitrates for chest pain, as this may cause an unsafe drop in blood pressure.
Don't drink alcohol in excess with Cialis. Side effects may include headache, upset stomach, delayed backache, or muscle ache. To avoid long-term injury, seek immediate medical help for an erection lasting more than 4 hours.
If you have any sudden decrease or loss in hearing or vision, stop taking Cialis and call your doctor right away.
36-hour Cialis or Cialis for daily use. Ask your doctor if Cialis is right for you. You can be ready for your moment with Cialis.
You know, Geico opened its doors back in 1936, and now we're insuring over 18 million drivers.
Quite impressive, yeah.
Come a long way, that's for sure. So have you since you started working here way back when.
I still have nightmares.
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
It was just gigantic.
It was humongous. Enormous, huge bill.
That's actually when we switched to Vonage.
The service is great.
I don't see any difference with the call quality.
More, I can just pick up the phone, call.
As many family members as I want. Ugh, why did I not do this earlier? I'm Laura Pruden, and this was my last bill
before I switched to Vonage.
Time is running out to get Vonage World for just $14.99 a month with unlimited domestic and international calls. Go to Vonage.com or call now.
The John Deere Green Tag Event. We tag it so you can cut it, till it, dig it, and haul it. Just don't miss it. The best deals of the season end soon. And there's only one place to find them. So visit your John Deere dealer today. Get up to $800 off select John Deere equipment at this month's Green Tag Event. Visit johndeere.com/Green Tag Event to find an event near you.
Border war with protests, political fights, and boycotts. Arizona's governor sticks to her guns on her immigration law and now fires back. Jan Brewer goes on the record tonight.
The master suite has a completely updated master bath. It's got a screened-in back porch and a large backyard. It's the perfect home, in excellent condition and ready to move in.
Anytime, anywhere, no one connects you with the home of your dreams like Coldwell Banker. We never stop moving. Now through July 31st, get up to an $8,000 credit when you buy a participating home listed with a Coldwell Banker agent. Go to coldwellbanker.com/buyer bonus for details.
Tell me something. Why does my company have so many printers and copiers, all different brands, with different controls? Give me one product line with a big, colorful LCD screen and common controls. And with Sharp OSA technology, I can easily integrate with my IT systems. And I don't want to use one of those mini screen keyboards. How about a built-in keyboard? Was that too much to ask? The award-winning MFP lineup from Sharp. Work without limits.
Connecticut Attorney General and Democratic Senate candidate Richard Blumenthal is paying the price for lying about his military service. It has been just 4 days since the New York Times exposed that Blumenthal never actually served in Vietnam, as he claimed. And for this, he has already taken a pretty big hit in the polls. Now, 2 weeks ago, Blumenthal led Republican Linda McMahon by 13 points, but the latest poll shows his lead slipping to just 3. And joining me now with analysis, the woman likely to challenge Blumenthal in November's Senate election, the former CEO of World Wrestling Entertainment, GOP candidate Linda McMahon. Linda, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much, Sean. It's a pleasure to be with you tonight.
All right, how do we characterize this? Chronic liar? What's the word you're using to describe his behavior?
Well, he's just not leveling, clearly, with the people of Connecticut. There have been so many times that he has claimed that he might have misspoken, but they're just clearly wrong. I mean, they're just clearly not true, and he is just not leveling with the people of Connecticut, and they sense it, they understand it, and I think he's just painting himself into the same corner of what we are seeing with so many politicians who just don't simply tell the truth.
And it wasn't
just...
And
I think the voters...
Go ahead.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
All right, I'll go. Look, I'm going to play his before comments, and this was not one time. This was multiple times. We've learned something important since the days I've served in Vietnam. When we returned, we saw nothing like this public support. When we returned, I remember the taunts, the verbal assaults, etc. We're going to play that, and then we're going to go right to what he said just the other day.
Okay.
We have learned something very important since the days that I served in Vietnam. And you exemplify it.
Now, on a few occasions, I have misspoken about my service, and I regret that, and I take full responsibility. But I will not allow anyone to take a few misplaced words and impugn my record of service to our country.
According to the polls, Linda, it doesn't look like a few misplaced words in the minds of the people of Connecticut.
Clearly not. I mean, he's created deception. He's been certainly ambiguous at best. But I think the people in Connecticut clearly know what he said and what he did not say, and he has just not leveled with them. And that's just like so many career politicians today. And I think, this coming November, Connecticut is going to have, a historic opportunity for the first time in decades to send a Republican senator, representing them to Washington. And I plan for that to be me.
All right, we got the DSCC chair, Robert Hernandez, said he will continue to support Blumenthal. Chris Dodd, whose seat he wants to take. Actually, he's been nothing but the most honorable of human beings in public life. I got to believe that if this were a Republican, there probably would be some intellectually honest Republicans saying, not only get out of the race, but step down as Attorney General. Do you expect any Democrat to challenge him?
I really don't know. There is a challenger, Merrick Alford, who has been in this race for a long time and I think plans to stay in the race. I don't know what will happen this weekend. We have both the Democratic and the Republican convention in Connecticut this weekend. Yeah. And I'm hoping to come out of our convention as the nominee. I don't know who the Democrats are going to choose for their nominee. All
right, let me just, and for all our liberal monitoring friends out there in their underwear in a bunker somewhere, hoping I say something silly, this is a fun conspiratorial question. I'm always suspicious when the New York Times breaks a story on the Democrat, because they don't do that very often. They're a stridently left, radically left newspaper, very supportive of the president and Democrats. All right, so here's my question. They broke this story. They had a follow-up editorial, and I'm thinking, all right, where did this come from? Do you think there's any outside chance that maybe there are some Democrats that want him out of the race because maybe Chris Dodd wants back in, or is that way out in conspiracy right field?
Well, I don't know about a conspiracy, Sean. I can tell you that, the New York Times did break this story. Some of our research, I think, helped them later on after they had broken the story. So yeah. I don't know about a conspiracy out there, but right. I can tell you my focus right now is on this weekend and taking care of my main opponent, Rob Simmons, who's the Republican that I'm pretty much facing for the nomination.
And you had no role whatsoever in the New York Times breaking the story.
No, our research, they had initiated this story. We contributed some research, to the story for the New York Times, but they did the research, they did all the verification for it.
All right, Linda, thanks for being with us. We'll watch the race closely. And coming up, believe it or not, a 5-year-old boy, 5 years old, arrested in Florida. Wait until you hear why. Plus, the imam behind the 9/11 mosque is far more radical than most people know. When we come back, a Hannity investigation on his views on Sharia law in America, straight ahead.
Phillips Colon Health Probiotic Plus Fiber. How's it work? Okay, she's gas, he's constipation.
Why am I constipated?
He's diarrhea. And our special fiber helps our probiotics so that you can show those symptoms. Who's in charge?
This isn't even my floor.
Get everything you want in a night out during Red Lobster's Festival of Shrimp. Combine 2 or 3 favorites, from classics to new creations, starting at $11.99 and soon at Red Lobster.
Bridgestone has developed Ecopia tires with the environment in mind. Our aim is to help improve the fuel efficiency of any car without compromising performance.
This is 9 generations of the world's most revered luxury sedan. This is a history of over 50,000 crash-tested cars. This is the world record for longevity and one of the most technologically advanced automobiles on the planet. This is the 9th generation E-Class. This is Mercedes-Benz. See your authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer for exceptional offers through Mercedes-Benz Financial.
All right, outrage in Florida tonight after a deputy was seen arresting a 5-year-old boy. Now, the boy's mother reportedly asked police to teach her son a lesson for playing with matches. Here's one witness's description.
You want to go to jail? You want to go to jail? And, you know, the little boy's just crying. And I'm sorry. I've been crying since I saw this.
Probably not the best way to teach a 5-year-old a lesson. More Hernandez straight ahead.
You're car guys, right? Like certified mechanics? You sell tires, too, like a tire store. Can I just buy the parts and do it myself? You boys are great with cars. Not much on conversation, though.
Right now at Pep Boys, get a Kestrel GTX do-it-yourself oil change, only $12.99. When the light comes on, just come in. Pep Boys does everything for less.
Today's the day you went from dude to dad, and you want everyone you know to see. So here's your moment of truth. Which 3G network would you trust to upload your very first shots to PhotoBucket?
Hey, look.
When you want your 3G network to work,
What's your email?
you want Verizon. Right now, you can get great deals on 3G and messaging phones like the Samsung Reality for $49.99, plus add a line for just $9.99, only at Verizon.
You look beautiful tonight.
Allow me.
It's tough to reach that 5 servings a day if you don't always like the taste of vegetables.
I'll be right back.
Okay.
Good thing V8 V Fusion Juice gives you a serving of vegetables hidden by a serving of fruit. V8, what's your number? Get a $1 coupon for V8 V Fusion Juice at tryv8.com.
Ever wish you knew a retirement expert? Let's meet some.
Retirement's a journey, and we know the territory.
We're chartered retirement planning counselors at TD Ameritrade. We're trained. We're seasoned.
Experienced.
We'll help you with rollovers, consolidating old accounts,
opening new ones,
guiding you through paperwork.
We're like retirement co-pilots.
Call us soon.
When you're ready, we're here.
Time for fresh thinking. Time for TD Ameritrade.
All right, there has been great outrage following plans for a mosque set to be built